Hello, Council and Budget Committee. I'm Mary Bridget Smith, the City Attorney, and I'm presenting the budget presentation on legal services for the City of Springfield. I love doing the work of the City Attorney and I'm proud of our office, so I'm happy to be speaking to you tonight about our budget and our department. This first slide is a summary of our services. I do want to call out our main purpose, and that is to advise the city on how to stay compliant with the law and proactively minimize liability. We are advisors and advocates for the city, but not necessarily litigators. So you will see from time to time that we would hire special counsel to represent the city. And also for employment and property damage claims, our insurer, City Council or City County Insurance Services, will hire outside counsel to represent the city there. We are appointed by the council directly. In a small department, one city attorney, myself, Christina Kraz is our assistant city attorney, and Linda Craig is our legal assistant. We also manage the city prosecutor contract as part of our role. This is our proposed budget summary. We have 3 FTE. We do not anticipate changes in the fiscal year in this area. Our material and services budget represents the city attorney's office overhead, but also the cost of the city prosecutor contract. So that contract is with an outside firm named Leahy Cox. They have been our city prosecutor for some years now and do an excellent job. So we're really in a point with that contract of managing that contract and working with them and making sure that the service for the community is occurring at the right level. We did experience an increase in personnel costs this year, and that was because the city implemented the non-represented employee pay study. It's on a 3-year cycle, and the increase was this year. I'd like to spend some time just briefly going over our accomplishments for FY22. I'm going to read the items out and then talk about them in a little more detail. So on this slide, areas of accomplishments include economic development, development code update project, procurement process improvements, and claim response. So starting off with economic development, always really a significant policy initiative of our council. Done some really interesting work this year. This is work with CETA and the council. Real estate transactions downtown, Blue McKinsey project downtown, the old Buick site, and then of course the request for qualifications for Glenwood. Development code update project. This has been in our initiatives for a few years now, really getting to a good spot of adopting the development code for our city, seeing if we'll have any appeals and how that gets through the public hearing process, and then starting with implementation. Procurement process improvements is streamlining and decentralizing how city staff buy goods and services, which is something we do a lot of and needs to be legally sufficient, and also in a way that staff can move through that efficiently. And Christina in particular has done some great work there. Claim response, this has to do with really being the facilitator between the applicable city staff and our outside counsel when we're responding to pending lawsuits. And then the next area of FY22 accomplishments, policy review, development review and processes, city council training, and city council work plan. The policy review section has to do with reviewing internal policies and administrative regulations. It's something that I think an organization like the city is always doing, but our HR department and police department are really putting in a lot of effort to improve and change policies. And our role in that is to review them to make sure they're legally sufficient and that they're applied correctly. Development review and processes. This is something that the city is always doing. This has to do with the process for when people come in and want to develop their property. Our role in this is support of the Planning Commission, training staff, reviewing packets and findings, and also any change in process or policy that occurs as a result of this. I think a good example are staff and legal did a nice job this year working on the public improvement permit rules, which is something that should assist developers in developing here in the city. City Council training is a new program as of this last year, really trying to formalize this process, but also make sure that it's right size for the council and that they're able to be trained up on topics that they need to be trained on so they can do their work effectively. And then CAO work plan, is we're a relatively new office here at the city. So spend some time this year sort of getting our own house in order. We held a retreat, did our first citywide and council evaluation of our office and of the city attorney. So next is our initiatives for FY23. And we really use these initiatives as guideposts for us and part of our work plan that we should be working on and where we should be focusing in the coming years. So they're important to us and really kind of serve as our, I would say, our guideposts. Again, starting off with economic development, seeing with CETA and the council development in obviously the Glenwood Riverfront area and working on agreements with the developer, and then the Blue McKinsey project downtown, in addition to what other opportunities may come our way. Development code update project, moving that through the adoption process, which is where it does get pretty legalistic in terms of process and procedure at public hearings. Seeing if we have an appeal, and remember that this is an area where it addresses the missing middle housing. So an important part of trying to increase the supply of housing in our city. Liability prevention, really just the bread and butter for the type of work that we do. Assisting the city with continued implementation of the enterprise risk management program, investing in our relationship with city county insurance services, and advising the police department on new policies and process and improvements, particularly in employment matters. Claim response, continue to assist city staff and outside counsel to best position the city for pending liability claims. Sorry about that. Okay, second half of FY23 initiatives, fire governance support. The cities are meeting now to look at the functionally consolidated fire department, providing some background legal advice about that process and any potential changes to that relationship. Effective and efficient city services. I think this is something that we'll always be working on as the city continues to streamline and then just change its services as as the world changes. I think this year the areas I'm looking to focus on are improving how we advise the council and staff on new legislation, improving the city council training process, and then continued management of the city prosecutor contract. ARPA funding and support, providing background legal advice on legal compliance for procurement and agreements with regard to the federal ARPA funding. And I should explain, ARPA is American Rescue Plan Act funds. Those are the federal funds coming to the city over the next few years. And comprehensive planning project support. Comprehensive planning is your long range land use planning. And they're doing some interesting projects this year, Goal 5 inventory, site specific comprehensive plan map, and then the climate friendly and equitable communities rulemaking, spending some time providing feedback on those and getting grounded in those rules. Looking at our future considerations, these are areas that we focus on, not as specifically as initiatives, but we always have our eye out here in terms of where areas where we think council policy is going to come from. So still working on economic development, continuing to assist with the legal aspects of those projects in urban renewal areas and other areas of the city. Housing, huge issue here for our community, our greater community here in Lane County. You know, what are ways that we can increase the housing supply? How do we address issues surrounding the unhoused and the housing continuum? Liability prevention, what are ways that we can minimize liability for the city as we also move ourselves forward and take advantage of opportunities. Effective and efficient city services, so continue to assist with streamlining on internal process and legal aspects of services and new technologies. And then the last two, climate and equity. These are areas that, you know, I think in the coming years are going to come to local government in a different way than they have previously, and more interaction and action on the path of local government than in previous years. This is my last slide. It's our contact information. I look forward to any questions you may have. We'll be at the budget committee meeting. So if you'd like to ask questions or discuss our budget in more detail, we'd be happy to do that then. I appreciate your attention for this presentation and look forward to seeing you at budget committee meetings. Thank you.